All right, I'm gonna try to make this succinct as I can. Try not to go on about it. But basically, this fantasy world that we grew up in, that we were taught in schools and stuff, that we should love Europe and they love us and stuff, it's largely been a fantasy on our side for the entire time. I don't think Europe has ever had particular fondness for us. I think they have a lot of resentment. They have a lot of crazy stereotypes that they create to make themselves feel better, because you have to remember that Europe ruled the world for 500 years. And then we came along, and our wealth and power surpasses theirs to a degree that they can't even accept. Like, they have all of these crazy beliefs that they're more rich and sophisticated. They'll talk about our South, about how poor it is, and they're completely oblivious to the fact that our South is richer than any European country. It's only poor by comparison to the north of our country. All this stuff, like, they've never liked us. They've hated us for taking their place on the world stage. But they were happy to take our protection and take our money. And that's just the game they've always played. I mean, if you talk to the average European, they have nothing good to say about us. When we travel to Europe, they treat us like crap. They're constantly talking shit about us. It's like, these people are not our friends, basically. So I won't go on about it, but it's the fact. And it's a sad fact. When you're like me and you're a history buff and you love Western civilization and all this stuff, and you love the old Europe, to truly understand what these people are like now it's sad. But we gotta just accept it, and we have to have a pragmatic foreign policy now. So they're not our enemies, and in fact, they're our allies. We do have a lot of common interests in offsetting the power of China and Russia. We have a lot more in common with them than we do China and Russia. So it's not like they're our enemies, but we got to get out of this idea that they're like our best friends and they love us, because they simply don't. And the stuff about the shared values, they don't really share our values. They don't. Our idea of freedom goes way beyond what theirs does, and it always has. They've never had a First Amendment. They've never had a Second Amendment, and they don't believe in the rights enshrined in the First and Second Amendment. They'll tell you that flat out. They don't believe in free speech. They say the words free speech, but when you talk to them, you understand they don't actually believe in free speech. Because they'll say, yeah, free speech, as long as you don't disagree with me, you don't have certain political ideologies, blah, 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 which is not free speech. That's the opposite of free speech. I mean, if free speech is free speech, but only the stuff I want you to say, then China has free speech. So don't be confused here. The Europeans do not have free speech. They do not believe in free speech. They certainly don't believe in right to bear arms, which is essential to true freedom. And on. They just don't. They don't believe in that. And so that doesn't mean that they can't be our partners in certain respects. And that doesn't mean that we don't share a lot more in common with them than we do with the rest of the world. But they're not exactly us either, and they're not our friends, and they don't like us. And so we need to have a pragmatic foreign policy where, we work with people in areas where we can work with them, and we don't work with people in areas where we can't work with them, and we don't have some crazy illusions about people being our best friends when they're not. Now, this Ukraine business, I'm at the point now where I think we should just wash our hands of the thing. I mean, the rhetoric coming out of Europe right now is just so emotional and overwrought, and it's basically like flat out hostile, and it's just like our reaction should just be like, okay, we shouldn't respond with hostility, because it's just like silly. Like, we're not that emotional about this. We don't care. Like, we're still gonna work with you on what we can work with you on. So if you want to like start, calling Americanos Canadianos and shit, like, okay, clown, like, whatever. Like, okay, have at it. We're just doing what we think's best for our country, and we're gonna continue to do that. And honestly, it's clear that Europe wants to continue the war, and that's fine. I actually wish them well. I hope that they're right and we're wrong, that this war is winnable. I hope that they spend all their money and they put their troops in there, and shit. And I hope they win. I hope they beat the Russians. But we're not doing it. So that's that. I mean, that's my opinion. I would just stop sending aid and say Europe needs to do it, because Europe declared this week that they love Ukraine more than they love us. So therefore they should be the ones spending the money on it. They don't, and they're talking about they don't need us, that we're not the leader of the free world. And I think, all right, fine. We don't need to be the leader of the free world. We're just a country that's looking out for our interests. So you go in and you do it. And I'll tell you what, if you win, we'll be the first ones to say, wow, you were right. You did it. You beat the Russians. Great. We were wrong. You get all the rewards then. You get all the glory. You can have the mineral deal with Ukraine. You can do the reconstruction and shit. It's all you, man. You did it. Good job. No hard feelings. We'll still work with you on the same shit we've always worked with you on, other than we're not going to pay 100% for your defense anymore. You're going to have to do, you're going to have to at least, be able to take care of yourself. You're not an invalid. But as far as you being like an equal partner, yeah, great. Have at it, man.